I've played all the mainline Pokemon games since Gen 1, and a specific memory of mine was before I had my own copy, I played a friend's copy of Pokemon Blue. He had some issue where an internal battery died, so saving your game didn't work, but I figured I'd play it anyway, and that was my first all-nighter. I stayed up till 7 AM, passed out, and woke up to find that the batteries died and all of my progress was lost. I've played Pokemon so much that I've even played popular ROM hacks like Storm Silver and Ash Gray. Highly recommended. Google those if you're a fan of good Pokemon games. Me and my girlfriend enjoyed Pokemon Sun and Moon together, so I was pretty excited we were going into Sword and Shield together. I beat the game a couple days ago, and I think I gotta talk about it. What was up with that Bead guy? Bead? BD? Bed? I honestly thought it was an old woman until I noticed later in the game. How is that a young boy? It doesn't really matter. My problem is with the character arc. I think he's supposed to be more of a rival character, but he came across as more of a wandering homeless person. He's just a regular trainer that gets endorsed, or really manipulated, by his adopted father, Chairman Rose, to find wishing stones. Wishing stones are part of Dynamax power, and I'll get into Dynamaxing later. So Bede does some near terrorist shit like destroying a monument, but it turns out that's a good thing, and there's hidden statues behind it. But Rose disowns Bede? I spent most of the mid-game trying to predict who the bad guy was gonna be, but almost everyone gave me bad vibes. And anyways, Bede does get some kind of redemption attempt by just battling you more times throughout the game, and eventually interrupting the Pokemon League to battle you again. Bede's story leads him into becoming the new Fairy Gym Leader, and it seems kind of forced into the story, because it's forced on the character. I just feel like the entire character could have been cut from the game, and nothing would have been lost. Now, speaking of awful and annoying characters, Hop is annoying. Miserably annoying. I thought How and the characters from Sun and Moon were annoying, but this is a new level. You have to beat him 10 different times, and he's never challenging. And sure, the first time you fight him, as a starter, he should point out, wow, you sure know your type matchups. And even days and weeks into the game, you run into him, fight him again, and his quip is still, you would use something super effective. It's a bit odd considering he's determined to beat the champion, his brother, but he loses all hope when he's defeated. And by the end, he wants to be a professor, probably because it's the only thing he's ever seen besides the champion. I don't know, I don't care. I want to hear less of Hop, whatever, I want to hear less of him. Just like previous games, when you beat a gym, you have access to more items from stores. The problem is that there aren't any new items after the 3rd or 4th gym, but that doesn't stop the clerk from telling you, great job, you now have access to more items, even though there's nothing new. This happens over 4 times, it makes the game feel broken. And it's pretty similar to when you beat a gym and they give you a uniform that you can't wear when challenging gyms. You can wear it out and about, but not at a gym challenge, even if you buy specific different uniforms. And one of my nitpicks is, why even bother to include multiple choice responses? Sure, all Pokemon games are like that, and most games in general will try to give you an illusion of choice, but this is just blatant. I noticed a large lack of maze-type basements and caves. Every time I thought I came across something that might exhibit exploration, I immediately noticed when paths aren't dead ends, they just meet up with the other options. There was just too much repetition in general. The whole game felt sort of lather, rinse, repeat, and instead of an Elite Four, you just fight some of the same gym leaders again. And that felt pretty lazy. And after you beat the game, you just go back around to all the gyms and fight wild Dynamax Pokemon at those gyms. It's somehow the most linear Pokemon game so far, and it all feels recycled. I really do love the wild area. I'm a huge fan of the new system of being able to see wild Pokemon and still have some small surprises in the grass. I didn't buy or use any repels on my playthrough. Caves and water areas weren't a barraging nightmare like it used to be. But Overpowered Pokemon are ridiculous. You're walking around and you get excited because you see a Snorlax. You're already thinking of a nickname and how normal type works into your party strategy, but it's a level 50 and you've got a few level 10s. So you think, damn, I could probably chain some revives together, chip away at its health, and finally catch it. Nope. You can't catch strong Pokemon. And unfortunately, the mechanic from old games is that if a Pokemon is stronger than yours, it's harder to run away from. So now I'm faced with a Snorlax I can't fight, I can't catch, and I can't run. I just gotta sit through watching him knock out my entire team one by one. This makes me actively avoid some of my favorite Pokemon. So here's how they drop the ball on Totem Pokemon. I mean Gigantamaxing. Well, no, Dynamaxing. I traded my girlfriend a Gengar because she hated getting beat by Gengar in Generation 2. And she traded me a Lapras because I didn't care for my starter. Both of those have Gigantamax forms, which are different from Dynamax, and they look different and have different moves. So you can imagine our excitement battling each other. Now imagine that turning to disappointment when I have to Google search why they're just Dynamaxing and not Gigantamaxing, and just to see that, whoops, Gigantamax might be like a DLC or something. We didn't really think about it. Wild Pokemon you caught aren't gonna Gigantamax. You don't get those weird looking new guys. They just get big. Before I go any further, I'd like to give a special shout out to this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Just kidding, please don't click off the video. It was a joke, I was kidding. Getting rid of HMs or hidden machines was great. That means no more HM slaves. This was something I've seen in a couple of ROM hacks, and I'm hoping this is the new norm. Not all animations were bad. Some moves line up with the mouth or the arm that they're coming from, and overall the graphics weren't as bad as let on from the pre-release, but the trees were terrible. They deserve all the hate they get for that. Maybe I'm so hard on the graphics because I just come from playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that game can be so visually stunning. Can't I just hide? Nope. I'm in the area. What?! Team Yell is slightly more cringe than Team Skull. I just can't believe how you get the bike in this game. This guy is trying to cross a bridge and two Team Yell grunts are trying to borrow his bike. They're stealing his bike. He asks you to fight them off, and when you do, he just gives you his bike. Like, what? Where's the logic there? And to make it worse, you can find the same guy later in the game being hassled by two Team Yell grunts. And when you beat them, he makes it so your bike can go on water? I just want to hammer in how dumb this is. And it might be a small step up from, hi, my name is Mr. Super Rod. Do you like fishing? Here's a Super Rod. It makes no sense. This is the point in the game where I decided I'm making a video. I cannot believe how incredibly cringy this is. Sure, the detective bit at the post-game section of Sun and Moon was pretty dumb, but this is inexcusable. I don't even see it worth mentioning that they just didn't do touchscreen controls despite having a touchscreen interface, and we had touchscreen controls on previous games, but that's just a real nitpick. Imagine spending $30 on a DLC for a $60 game that felt rushed and unfinished. And I guess it's better than buying Ultra Sword or Ultra Moon or whatever it would be, but it sort of punishes people who would normally wait for a full game version anyway. There's no winning here when you put out half-finished games. This game feels like it's made for the stupid kid. And maybe it is, and that's fine. I'm fully aware it's a kid's game. It's made for kids. But if this is specifically not for adults, the long-term 20 years of being a fan adults, I'd rather have saved my money. Slide.